Coming up on Texas Parks and Wildlife.
Come on. When you come down to South Padre to wade fish, you're going to be fishing some of the most pristine, gin, clear water that you can see. Oh, come on.
Then I want to release them. Well, I can see some grass over there, or some oyster shell, or somewhere where these little guys can hide.
There'd be tarpon visible all the time. They'd just be continuously rolling.
Texas Parks and Wildlife, a television series for all outdoors.
Hi, I'm Julie Hagan, and I'm on the Coastal Fisheries team at the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department. Our team monitors marine life in the Texas bays, estuaries, and Gulf waters. We also work to provide first-class fishing opportunities on the Texas coast. On this episode, we'll take a look at the science behind fisheries management, as well as the joys of fishing the Texas coast. So whether you're a seasoned saltwater angler or just enjoy the sounds of the surf, we hope you enjoy watching.
It's kind of like hunting. You're actually stalking the fish.
You know, you're in their environment, getting out of your environment.
Wade fishing is as basic as it gets. No boat, not a lot of gear,
Nice fish, Ethan, pretty.
and the reward can be great.
Awesome, look at the color on that.
Awaiting you in the shallow waters of the Texas coast are red drum, spotted sea trout, flounder, and many other sport fish. But not a lot of folks know where to go. Well, there are 8 bay systems along the Texas coast to choose from, starting with the upper coast at Sabine Lake and heading all the way south to the lower Laguna Madre. In all, there is almost 400 miles of beach or bay access. Art Morris works for Texas Parks and Wildlife, and one of his jobs is to get folks interested in wade fishing.
We're fishing the upper Laguna Madre today, just south of Corpus Christi. It's one of the premier bays on the Texas coast to wade fish. It's got miles and miles of shallow grass flats, one with an average depth of 3 feet. There's tons of opportunities for wade fishermen to come down here and try their luck. When you're out here wading along the bay shoreline or anywhere really, you need to be looking for any kind of sign of activity. That could be bait fish swimming in the water, a fish tailing. Redfish are renowned for that. You're looking for more subtle things. There's a fish. This is what we're after. Oh man, this is a good fish here. Yeah, here we go. Ah, there's a redfish right there. This one will keep. This will make some nice grilled redfish fillets tonight. They're strong runners. Don't jump very often, but boy, they sure put up a big fight pound for pound.
Making sure there are plenty of fighting reds in our bays is the job of Texas Parks and Wildlife's Coastal Fisheries Hatchery program.
Our goal this year is to raise around 25 million red drum fingerlings.
The plan in the past had been to raise them to 1.5 inches in size.
We have 190,000 fish that we're going to be releasing today.
But now they grow them to 1.75 inches.
Well, the reason why we want the fish to be bigger is because the fish is better able to adapt to the environment.
Ruben, I feel them coming now.
It's better able to forage, better able to evade predation. So a bigger fish has a better probability of survival.
Don't make us proud, little red drum.
Out of all of the bays, probably the least utilized is San Antonio Bay.
Let's cast up in these weeds here.
Donna Bouchard takes her sons Andy and Ethan out just about every weekend.
I like to wade fish because it's something we can do together, but yet we still all have our space. It's kind of good too because there's 3 of us. We can cover a lot of area, kind of scout out for each other.
See that shark? Look at it over there. It's probably in there eating mullet and little redfish, stuff like that. It's just taking his time. Wade fishing, you can always go. Most time where a boat can't, you can walk and get to them pretty easy, and you ain't got to worry about spooking them or making a lot of noise.
What you got, Ethan?
Redfish, I guess.
Is he gonna be a keeper?
I don't know.
Might be bigger than you think, Ethan.
Yeah, redfish, they don't scare as easy like trout, so you can get closer to them, and they're a lot funner to catch.
Look at that, pretty fish, pretty fish.
Oh, Donna's got a fish. Oh, that's a keeper trout right there.
Uh-huh.
Don't lose it, Mom.
I think the biggest challenge is probably finding what's gonna work that day.
Nice fish, Mom.
It seems like if you're wade fishing with artificials, that's like the ultimate catch.
If you are looking to catch bigger fish, the Gulf's barrier islands are the ticket. South of San Antonio Bay lies North Padre Island National Seashore. With over 65 miles of undeveloped beach and surf, it's coastal wade fishing at its best.
So I'm looking for any signs, any movement on the water. That's what I'm looking for.
Local Nick Myers starts out every trip with a net full of mullet.
I just saw some scoot under there. I don't know if I got them. These finger mullet, they're migrating down the island south, and they're closely followed by the predators, and that's why they're such good bait. Okay, this rig is going to be used to fish really close to us, and I'm going to keep my bait alive. We've got the mullet, and what I do on the little mullet, I take the hook under his chin and just bring it out through the top of his head, like so. It's a really good redfish rig. Okay, we're going to place this live mullet in this deeper water here. This is where the fish are naturally channeling up. I'm going to just throw him out there. He'll appear like he's injured, and that's what the redfish and the trout are looking for. The beauty of this beach is you've got such a variety of fish as you go through the seasons, from the pompano in the fall and winter, trout, redfish, jackfish. There's everything in this water. It's more than likely the most fertile bit of water you can get, and I've got a fish. He certainly picked it up and started running. He's gone down tired of me. You know, I think we've got a ladyfish. Here he is. Pound for pound, one of the best fighting fish you can get. There he goes, perfect. Ladyfish, poor man's tarpon. All right, we've got a redfish, I think. She keeps taking drag on it. It's a nice red. It's more than likely a male, real healthy surf red. My job is to keep in front of him. That's what fishing on the beach is about. Beautiful redfish, absolute prime condition. Healthy, look at the beautiful colors on it. And that's why I like this beach, I really do.
The bay with more square miles of wade fishing opportunities than any other is the lower Laguna Madre along the southern edge of the coast.
Oh, sun's just coming up. Oh boy, here we go.
Avid fly fisherman Shane Wilson is in an area called South Sand Flats.
When you come down to South Padre to wade fish, you're going to be fishing some of the most pristine gin clear water that you can see. This water is clear because of the salinity content and because of the turtle grass and the seagrass that it's in. Something else that you don't want to miss when you're out on this early morning are the amount of blue herons. There's about 7 or 8 of them over there right now. They are tremendous fishermen. I wish I could fish like they do. This looks fabulous. The bottom is hard and the water is high.
Like any type of wade fishing in this shallow water, you have to be ready for any movement.
But I'm looking for water displacement. It's a wave going in the other direction. It's just something you have to train yourself to see. Here we go. Oh, come on. Come on. There it is. There it is. Look at that, look at that, look at that, look at that. This is what it's all about. Southern Texas fishing, baby. Come on, hang on. Whoa, come on. I got a nice redfish. I don't want her to break me off either. Oh, sweet, sweetheart. Yes, sirree. She was in probably 3 inches of water. I threw the fly about 4 inches off to her left side. One strip, she turned on it, stripped it again, she took it. That's what it's all about. Here you go, baby. Freedom is there. There she is. Oh, sweet.
It's relaxing, very relaxing.
So whether it's wading with the family in San Antonio Bay,
This is about as good as it gets.
or fly fishing solo in South Padre, whatever your pleasure, Texas is a wade fishing wonderland.
It's time to feed the fish.
You don't want to stick your hand in there.
These hungry red drum and sea trout are at Sea Center, Texas, in Lake Jackson. Located on 75 acres, the fish hatchery raises red drum, sea trout, and southern flounder. Stocking between 10 to 16 million fish into Texas bays each year.
And stock enhancement is not just putting fish out there for people to catch. It is the idea of making our naturally occurring population of game fish more robust.
Sea Center, Texas also features an aquarium,
I see a turtle, guys, right there.
nature trail, and fishing events. It's open to the public and it's always free.
Pond 5 probably has the same issue going on.
It's 7 a.m. and hatchery staff are preparing for a day of raising fish. Biologist Jeff Baer starts his day in the baby making room.
We are going to start our day collecting eggs from a spotted sea trout spawn. And those floating eggs will come out of the tank into an egg collector. And we see that the eggs have started to float, so we know these are good eggs. These are fertilized eggs.
Now it's time for an egg count.
1,700 trout eggs fit into 1 milliliter of water. So today we have 102,000 fertilized eggs.
Next, the eggs go into the incubation tank, which is aerated with oxygen.
So that's the idea. These trout are spawning in the passes. It's a little rougher, and we're replicating what happens in the bay.
After the eggs hatch, the tiny larvae go into outside ponds to grow.
One of my responsibilities as a biologist is we're going to read the ponds. We take a lot of data here. I can see what the oxygen has been. I can see how many fish were stocked. I can see what size the fish are. We're trying to produce 400,000 fingerlings in a 1-acre pond.
For Jeff, it's personal.
Well, I grew up on the Gulf Coast. My dad grew up fishing speckled trout and red drum, and so I grew up doing that too. And by the early 80s, here I am 10, 12 years old, and even I knew I wasn't catching red drum anymore. And I became fascinated with aquaculture.
While most folks are still sleeping, Jeff and his crew are collecting sea trout fingerlings to stock in the bay.
And I'm going to try to put between 6 and 10 pounds of fish in a bucket. So it's 150 pounds on a trailer.
By the time the rest of us are starting our day, the young sea trout are getting ready for their new home. And off they go.
Gonna want to release them. Well, see some grass over there or some oyster shell or somewhere where these little guys can hide.
As often happens, a curious onlooker stops
So
by.
you figure these will be 2 years. In 2 years, these will be legal size.
Well, that's neat. That's money well spent.
Thank you. We appreciate you. This is why we do it.
Meanwhile, thousands of tiny trout now have a new home in the bay.
All done. 200,000 West Matagorda trout released alive and healthy.
But how many of those trout will make it to adulthood? If sea trout have the same results as red drum, the outlook is promising.
Fly was there on the bottom and he was just pop, pop.
A study with Texas A&M showed about 10 to 21% of red drum caught were hatchery-raised fish.
Nice.
It's really cool when you pull up at a red light and you've got that trailer behind your truck and you hear a honk and you turn over and here's a guy in his saltwater life hat and he's giving you a big one of these. And it's very rewarding, very rewarding.
And I really want to welcome you all this morning. As Ben pointed out, this was historically an astounding fishery, world-class destination, and I'm here to tell you it doesn't exist anymore.
Tarpon, the Silver Kings. What happened to them? Can they be restored? Biologists and anglers are collaborating to solve the mystery of the tarpon. When you fish for tarpon in Texas, the most important thing to bring along is patience. Today, tarpon are scarce along the Texas coast, but 50 years ago, that was hardly the case.
They'd be tarpon visible all the time, and you just see them coming, whether you were running in the surf and trying to make them bite, or whether you just see them coming for miles. I mean, they're just rolling. There'd be 10 or 12 fish in a pod, and they'd just be continuously rolling. The way we fished then, this was in 1956. You could cut the point off the hooks on your lure and have 3 or 4 tarpon on in a single cast. One would grab it and throw it, and the next one would grab it and throw it before you could ever get your lure back to the boat. They were just jumping, and one of them jumped on the bow of the boat and flopped back in the water.
Tarpon really are a fish of the Americas, and most are found in this part of the world. It's believed that tarpon spawn in the open ocean along the continental shelf, and the larvae make their way back to the safety of bays, marshes, and estuaries. While tarpon still inhabit their historical range, their numbers have sharply decreased, and nobody knows exactly why. One thing's for sure, in the last 50 years, the Gulf Coast has changed. Heavy industry and residential development from Houston to Corpus Christi now shares the tarpon's nursery habitat. The rivers that feed these marshes now have more dams on them than before. We can't turn back time or restore everything to its original state, but there is something we can do right now. Here at the Coastal Fisheries Lab in Palacios, biologists study tarpon scales. Preliminary results indicate that there is one species of tarpon. This means that tarpon from one part of the world could be stocked in Texas waters and possibly reproduced in hatcheries to enhance wild populations. Successful stocking programs of other types of fish, like redfish and spotted sea trout, have made a very positive impact for those particular populations.
Here you go, speckled trout. This is what they come down to Rockport to fish for.
Captive spawning of redfish has become almost routine. Coastal Fisheries operates 3 hatcheries along the Texas coast that stock 30 million fish annually. But the tarpon is a very different fish, and so far, the secrets of spawning tarpon have been elusive. An expedition of anglers and biologists traveled to Mexico to begin acquiring tarpon for a future hatchery program.
Presently, we're fishing along the banks of El Bosque Centla in the state of Tabasco, Mexico. We're hoping to run into some tarpon brood stock in the neighborhood of about 6 to 7 foot range. So far, we've been unsuccessful in capturing any tarpon brooders, but in the process, we were able to get some tarpon scales.
Here are the tarpon.
Tarpon were examined wherever they could be found. Part of the team included biologists from Texas A&M University.
112 centimeters total length. It's 90.5 centimeters standard length.
In addition to the scales, biologists took some tarpon heads to determine their age by counting the growth rings on a small bone called the otolith.
With the onset of winter, these growth rings all begin to bunch up. And when they lay on top of one another in very, very narrow bands, this is what forms a year mark. And you can count like you count in the rings of a tree. You can do the same thing with some otoliths.
The age that a tarpon can reproduce is an important factor to determine for any future breeding program.
There hasn't been a whole lot of work done on the anatomy of tarpon and the reproductive biology. There's been some work done in Costa Rica and in Florida with a fairly extensive description of the reproductive cycle, but we don't know how any of that information relates to these animals in Texas and here in Mexico. So what we're doing is we're going to open up some of these animals and see what they look like on the inside so we can either confirm that information or discover that our animals do things a little bit differently.
With so little known about tarpon, it became apparent that something needed to be done to share information and coordinate research.
The reason why we put together both Tarpon Tomorrow and this symposium is to not only figure out why this happened in Port Aransas, but to work with scientists and anglers around the world to prevent that collapse from happening in other places and to restore those places where it's happened.
Annual meetings like this one promise more exchange of the latest information. But the tarpon still holds many secrets, and the future of its survival is still a mystery.
So it's a matter of finding a location at the right time of year when you can pull the animals up, and we think that this location in Tabasco in Mexico is one possibility, and you just need to go out there with a syringe.
I think that the charge that we all have is to facilitate the scientific investigation of this great animal so that it doesn't quietly pass into the dark night like the Atwater prairie chicken, and that new scientific direction will give rise to a new day for the tarpon.
Here we go. Nice jump.
Hey.
Nice jump.
That's our show for this week. Be sure to check out the Texas Parks and Wildlife's website to learn more about our fishing programs and to get ideas on how and where to plan your next fishing trip. Thanks for watching.